Through 300,000 years of evolution, humans have managed to accomplish so many things. Building pyramids, creating societal norms and values, and music videos that would otherwise make your head explode. But all of this pales in comparison to our greatest creation of all, film. Now you may ask yourself, what is the greatest film of all? A question as old as time, one that's perplexed us cinephiles since the dawn of days. Is it Fellowship of the Ring? Apocalypse Now? Sharknado 5? Who's to say? Black Pearl. It's Curse of the Black Pearl. Man, this movie goes so hard. I think the thing I loved the most watching this movie was how simplistic the structure of the narrative is. It's no secret that they didn't have much to go on. For a little bit of context, the original boat ride for Pirates of the Caribbean opened up in the 60s and quickly became a cornerstone of Disney World. It wasn't until the early 90s that they first pitched the idea to execs, and as you could imagine, they weren't interested. They were too busy greenlighting Hocus Pocus and Cool Runnings. But in the spring of 2001, they brought a couple more writers in, and with that, we got our first draft of what would be known as the Curse of the Black Pearl. And did it live up to the expectations? Hell yes! Like I said before, what impresses me about this screenplay is how well it manages to stretch out a 2.5-hour story into an easily digestible series of events. A brief summary, we're introduced to Captain Drunk Sparrow, who washes up on the shore of Port Royal. He's arrested upon arrival and plots an escape. During this, he's confronted by the Teen Choice Awards Best Kiss winner.
In the name of the Queen, we feast.
After losing the fight, Jack Sparrow is captured again. During his incarceration, Port Royal is under siege in the middle of the night by the Black Pearl, and we get to meet our villain, Captain Hector Barbossa. So for reference, we just got to spend the first 40 minutes of our story in one place, dedicating more of our screen time to introducing characters. So yeah, characters. What's kind of weird is that before going into this movie, I only had vague memories of the posters of each one of these. The whole time, I figured Legolas was some sort of prince or duke, but he's introduced as an orphan pirate, which is honestly a quick way to get us to root for him when he's thrown into this posh world of royalty, years later where we find him. He has this faded romance with... And she's honestly the weakest part of our trio. The one thing I do love about her character is that she is very proactive in the narrative, and she makes efforts to get involved at multiple points, even if she does fall into the classic damsel. Oh, the hate! After the battle at Port Royal, they capture Elizabeth and ride off into victory. With no one to turn to, Paris of Troy needs a pirate's help to save her. And from this, the narrative turns into a game of three-way cat and mouse. After reaching Barbossa's man cave, we get to fully learn what the Curse of the Black Pearl is all about and why it's important to our main characters. And our second major battle comes soon after, as the Black Pearl finally catches up to Jack and his crewmates, which once again is just... As we reach the climax, Jack tricks the Goombas of Port Royal to take down the Black Pearl as a bounty, meanwhile using the opportunity to steal the Black Pearl. A final showdown begins, and Jack Sparrow gets his long-awaited revenge on his captain. To kick us off, the Black Pearl is just such an infectious time. I mean, every note and story beat becomes so elevated in every scene by either the score or just plain shenanigans. The movie is so damn fun, and I just can't get over how compelling and condensed a narrative like this manages to be. The practical effects are still banging to this day, costume and set designs are genuinely peak Disney. Where did that go? But yeah, for performances, Johnny is obviously the lifeline of the film, but his dynamic with Legolas and everyone else on the cast really does shine through. Back when people had fun making movies, I guess. So yeah, phenomenal time that I just might have to rank higher than Fellowship. Now I'm very eager to get started on the next one because... oh boy. Yep, this movie's banging too. And big surprise, the critics were wrong. Now don't get me wrong, it's not without its problems. I still think the Black Pearl is more well-rounded, but I won't sit here and tell you that this narrative ain't as adventurous as the last. We return to our gang a couple years down the line. A wedding ceremony is underway between Elizabeth and Danny Moore from Gran Turismo. The party is crashed by the introduction of our newest antagonist, Cutlery Beckett. So the two of them are under arrest for the events of the last movie and helping Jack escape, and now in order to save themselves, they must track him down and retrieve a magic compass from him. With Jack now being the true captain of the Pearl, he's confronted by Danny Moore's father, confessing to him that his blood debt to Davy Jones must be paid, and that the Great Kraken will retrieve it from him.
A subpoena.
So with a chance to save his soul, he uses this fancy compass to lead him to the dead man's chest. Will finally catches up to the pearl as it washes up on the shore of Isla de la fuck. This is the first moment where I feel like the movie leans a little too heavy into its humor. This whole B-plot that goes on to retrieve Jack from the cannibals is fun, don't get me wrong, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it doesn't actually serve to get us anywhere. Before they get to the island, the crew is in search of the key, and 20 minutes later, when they escape the island, they are still in search of the key. I don't know, maybe I'm just hating. Don't listen to me. After this, they track down Davy Jones, and Todd Blackburn sneaks onto the ship in search of the key. He gets captured almost immediately.
Jackass!
From here, Elizabeth finds Jack, Will steals the key from Jones, and now they're all headed towards Isla Cruces. After a downright comedic squabble between Will, Jack, and the soldier dude who I'm struggling to remember the name of,
John Carter.
Steve Rogers.
The dude.
they find the chest. Here's where we're going to take a quick pause. This time around, I actually love the dynamic between our trio. Like, off the bat, Will and Elizabeth are shown the consequences of their good deed from the last movie. Jack gets a single moment of bliss before having his life and well-being threatened all the same. The reason I like this dynamic more is because it almost pins our characters against each other as Jack stands in the way of what they want, and by extension, they stand in his. What I'm getting at is it makes for everyone being a little selfish, and I love that shit. I also really like the idea of bringing back characters from the last movie and giving them new context and stake in the plot. Apparently the execs earlier on wanted this franchise to take a more Indiana Jones route of brand new adventure every time with the same characters. But with this, I feel like expanding the world through the eyes of people we've already met does so much more to attribute to a genuine trilogy. So I'm glad the writers got their way with that. So up until this point, these three have shown why they desire the chest. Will wants to save his dad, Jack wants to save himself, and the soldier wants to be reinstated. And with that, a battle begins. I'm gonna be so straight up. Between these three movies, I love how much the action seems so inspired from Indiana Jones. Like, these movies have some of the most fast-paced and enthusiastic choreography that I have seen in a minute. And if I wasn't glazing the set pieces enough in the last one. After sustaining one hell of a beating, they all decide to jump ship, but not before Elizabeth. You know what?
I'm not even mad, bro!
From here, we find out that the soldier snuck away with the contents of the chest, Davy Jones's heart. As for the crew, with their heads held high, they realize what they must do. They gotta sail to Davy Jones's locker to retrieve Jack and the Pearl, with their newfound captain, a familiar face. Overall, this movie is so good. I think the best thing it does is expanding the world and giving us more to explore. We get so much more depth for our main characters in a way that legitimately builds off of the last one, and not lazily tacked on. So much of the production had evolved by this point from the budget and tech, and because of that, these action sequences might never age. I love what gets set up in this installment and the even broader world that opens up to us. There was still a tad too much humor for my taste, and that B-plot could have had more of a stake in our main one, but still a minor complaint. Anyways, it can only be uphill from here, right?
We must fight to run away.
Gore Verbinski, thank you for this trilogy, bro. I'm gonna have to glaze for a minute because even though this final entry made just shy of $1 billion, I think it's well paced, it pays off great arcs, and the sheer art design is still perfect. There's a few elements that I love, and a lot that I really don't love. But I'm gonna start with the good as usual. We pick up right where we left off from Barbossa, now captain once again of the Pearl. Meanwhile, Cutlery is gathering his forces and hunting remaining pirates. I love these heartfelt scenes of him petting his dog.
The Dutchman sails as its captain commands.
And its captain is to sail it as commanded.
This is no longer your world, Jones.
It's over for you, okay? That's the bitter news. You're old, you're boring, you're not scary, you dress like shit.
The gang sailed towards World's End in a rescue mission for the king himself, and here's where I'm going to get into the arcs. Elizabeth feels guilty for getting him killed, and now she wants to save Jack. Marlin needs to free his dad from torment, and so he wants to save Jack. And Barbossa,
He needs to bring an evil sea goddess back to life. But also needs Jack's help, so he wants to save him too. I like that our theme continues of everyone being a little selfish, having their own motives, and no one is ever completely on the same page about what they're doing, or at least why they're doing it. It's something that stayed consistent throughout, with more prevalence in the later installments, but I enjoy all the same. After finally reaching the land of the lost, we discover Jack Sparrow once more, once again, and yeah, this just continues on. I'll admit this particular plot device of there being multiples of the same character is not my favorite. There's certain movies that utilize it well and in a structured manner, but this isn't one of those times. They only exist for the sake of telling a few jokes, and when they don't serve a greater purpose than that, it gets a little stale. The gang head toward the big pirate press conference after saving Jack. Oh yeah, spoiler, they save Jack. We also get this cute moment where Barbossa and Jack reflect over the corpse of the Kraken. Also spoiler, Cutlery kills the Kraken off screen. It's a small moment, but I love how they express their outlooks here, and it's surprisingly the most heartfelt scene in this whole trilogy. So from here they decide there's no other choice but to unite the remaining pirate lords, and they basically have a nice family squabble before Elizabeth is voted to be the new pirate king. Yeah, so the rule is that majority vote gets to be king, but everyone just votes for themselves, and so Jack seizes the opportunity and votes for Elizabeth. It's a whole thing, it's really goofy. With that, they pass the order to release
Calypso!
and she sails up into the sky to set up the arena. Okay, so finally as we near the end, I'm gonna bring up my biggest peeve with this movie. You see ships? I see ships. You see two big-ass armies? I see two big-ass armies. But the final battle is only gonna be these two ships. Now don't get me wrong, I love this shit. Every musical cue, practical effect, and stunt is on full display throughout the movie and its climax. The sheer spectacle in some of these frames is just... My issue is that this whole movie does a lot to build up the idea of Beckett's forces, to build up the unity of the last remaining pirates, so the fact that neither of them get involved in the final battle is just a little underwhelming. Now, I'm not saying it needed to be this, or this, but I just can't shake the feeling that something feels off about it. Probably doesn't help that Cutlery gets blown to smithereens a second later.
Turn away!
What? They didn't even bother fighting you to begin with! After that, Thanos drops the gauntlet and Iron Man has to save the day. In one final act, Davy Jones ends up killing Orlando Bloom, but not before Jack gets his long-awaited revenge. You see, there's this whole curse that we're told about in the last movie. Basically, whoever kills Davy Jones must take his place as captain. With seemingly no other options, Jack uses Will's hand to stab the heart, and now Paris is cursed to a life at sea. For like 10 years or something though, so I guess it's not too bad. Elizabeth gets to say her final goodbyes, Barbossa steals away with the Black Pearl, and Jack gets left right back off at square one. And if there's one thing I will glaze, I think this is a great send-off for the trilogy and everyone's arc. I like that Marlin gets to follow in his dad's legacy. I like that Elizabeth gets a fresh start after getting a taste of piracy. I like that Barbossa gets to continue on as the rightful captain of the Black Pearl. And yes, I said it, it's him, not that goober. And Jack, I just love that he leaves off where he started, with no resources, but a simple lust for adventure. Man, they just don't make them like this anymore. Looking back on these movies, I just can't believe what a time of Hollywood it really was. With the success of franchises like Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, the beginning of one of Fox's biggest franchises, rest in peace, it's just wild to see a movie get made over no source material, let alone a whole trilogy at that. And yes, I'm going to be getting to those later. But between these two writers and the vision of a single director, they managed to pull off a true gem for the ages. You can see the clear passion in every frame, which just seems to be missing nowadays. Especially from you, Disney. I love the first one for its quick pace and tight narrative. I love the second one for its world building and character depth. And at World's End, that's just popcorn, really. Tasty as hell, but simply not enough meat. As a final ranking for these guys, I would sit the Black Pearl at an easy 9 out of 10, with Dead Man's Chest being a tad lower at an 8 out of 10, and although I like our send-offs, At World's End is definitely the runt of the litter. 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's the whole trilogy. I guess now we await Disney's latest.
So today I'm going to be demonstrating my favorite pastime with Marco. He has this rule about stairs and that he can't really go up half at a time. So if I do something like this, all the way up, and he has to go all the way down, and suddenly if I run, what can I say? He's not the smartest of the bunch, but it's a fun pastime. Anyways, till next time.